dad. It's fun. Try saying something you want to say in a sentence that is spelled backwards and forwards the same way without having to change what you want to say. Sound possible? At least highly unlikely. Right? Subhanallah. This is one dimension of the miracle of the Arabic language, the linguistics in Quran. I'll give you an even more profound example in my opinion. I'm going to come out of the full screen version here because I want to help you understand something easier. Okay, once again, I'm going to try to simplify this as much as I can. Wait, I went too far. Sorry, I ruined it for you. But most of all, okay. All right. You notice the word wa again, sentence beginning? Kul is kaf and lam, that's separated here. Fi is fa, and this two dot thing is here. Then fa lam kaf, fa lam kaf. I didn't put yasbahun. Let me translate this for you. We just talked about this ayah a second ago. This is the ayah that says they're all floating in their own orbits. Rotating in their own orbits. The word for rotating or floating used is yasbahun. I want you to remember what letter it begins with. Yeah. Okay. So the action, the verb, if I give you the English, all of them are floating or rotating in their own orbits. What's the action? What's the verb? Floating. Okay. When you take the beginning letters and you separate them, kaf in the beginning, kaf at the end. You notice the symbols are the same? Lam in the beginning, second last, lam third last, fa, fa. And they're all rotating around what letter? Which is the word for rotating. Yasbahun. The letter that begins the word for rotating, they're rotating around it. SubhanAllah. They form a symmetrical pattern. This is a second example. And of course, I'll add one more complication to this. I said to you, produce a sentence of something you want to say. Something you want to say. And try to say it in a way that is spelled backwards and forwards the same way. Not to mention, you can't write it down. You can't write it down. And the interesting thing is, this wasn't discovered, and a dozen of these were not discovered until after the Quran was published, libraries, many scholars, generations later, scholars said, wait a second. They're doing letter counts of Quran, because scholarship was done on Quran from every perspective, and they started discovering this. Meaning the Prophet himself didn't claim, hey, look at this ayah, backwards and forwards. He didn't say that. It's something that came much later. And yet it was always there. For subhanallah. This one's not 74.3, it's 36. I think 36.30, 36, in the 30s somewhere. So that was an example of palindromes in the Quran. I want to give you some easy examples. This is very complicated, but I'm going to, again, try to simplify it as much as I can. The first ayah, I'll read the Arabic. وَلَا تَقْتُلُوا أَوْلَادَكُمْ. For those of you who read Arabic, let's read this together again. وَلَا تَقْتُلُوا أَوْلَادَكُمْ. Read the beginning here. وَلَا تَقْتُلُوا أَوْلَادَكُمْ. The word imlaq is here. What's the word here? Imlaq. But before imlaq, over here, there's a min and there's a khashyata over here. This is a slight difference. And if you look at the ending, nahnu is here and nahnu is here. Narzuqu is here and narzuqu is here. But there's a kum here and there's a hum here. And there's a hum here and there's a kum here. So there's a little bit of a change. But mostly the ayah is the same. These are two different citations from two different surahs in the Quran. I'll tell you what they mean. The top one means, don't kill your children because of poverty. We're the ones who provide you all, and not to mention them. I'll say that again. And don't kill your children because of poverty. We are the ones who provide you all, and not to mention them. Let's look at the second one. Don't kill your children out of fear of poverty, we are the ones who provide them and you. Did you hear a difference in the English? You have to pay attention to know. There were two differences. The first one said because of poverty. The second one says out of fear of poverty. The first one says we provide you and them. The second one says we provide them and you. Which to an English listener, even an Arabic listener, same idea. I mean, out of fear of poverty, because of poverty, what's the big deal? It's the same thing, right? But if you pay a little bit closer attention, this is actually where the linguistic discussion on Quran is the most in-depth. In these ayat that are similar, and in translation, even in Arabic, you would hardly notice the difference in meaning. But if you dig a little deeper from the linguistic perspective, you discover something great. And that is, the word min, in classical Arabic, which is because of, I translate it as because of, is used as min ajl, harf ajl it's called. It's a word used to describe a reason. And the implication here is, the ayah is talking to people that are already poor. Because they're killing their children because of poverty, meaning it already exists. If they are already poor, then they are worried about their own food in their stomach first, before even thinking about kids. So when Allah says, don't kill your children because of poverty, who does He provide first? You, because you're poor yourself, and also them. The next ayah says fear of poverty. And fear in any language, particularly in Arabic, is always associated with the future. I'm afraid of losing my job. I'm afraid to get late to work. I'm afraid of failing the class. I'm afraid of a car accident. You're afraid of stuff that hasn't happened yet. The implication directly here is, you're not poor yet. You're not poor yet. Here, what was it? You're already poor. So if you're not poor yet, and you're killing your children, what is it telling you? That we are worried we won't be able to afford them. So when these people are spoken to, what does Allah say? We provide them, not to mention you. For the shallow look, at a shallow look, you and them and you, what's the difference? On just a more subtle, careful look, you will notice the accuracy of the order and how it reflects the meaning that is to be communicated. Two different groups in society are committing the same sin for two different reasons. One reason is outlined here and one reason is outlined here. What takes me 20 minutes to explain to you is just in the change of two words. This is divine speech. The accuracy, the subtlety of speech, and how it communicates very, very specific meaning. This is one of my favorite examples. This is for those of you who read the Quran a lot. You'll enjoy this one, inshallah. This is also to speak of the profound nature of the imagery in the Quran. Imagery in the Quran. The Quran is very connected, coherent text. One part describing the other. One theme being repeated in different words. Now you notice in this ayah Allah says, I put the translation here, يَعْلَمُ مَا يَلِجُ فِي الْأَرْضِ, He knows what enters into the earth, وَمَا يَخْرُجُ مِنْهَا, and what comes out of it, وَمَا يَنزِلُ مِنَ السَّمَاءِ, and what comes down from the sky, وَمَا يَعْرُجُ فِيهَا, and what rises to it. وَهُوَ الرَّحِيمُ الْغَفُورُ, and He is the constantly merciful, exceedingly, I missed the word forgiving. Exceedingly forgiving. If you read Quran, what do you always read? غَفُورٌ Rahim or Rahimun Ghafur? You always read Ghafurun Rahim, forgiving merciful, forgiving merciful, forgiving merciful. That's the theme in the Quran. Over 70 times you will find an ayah ending Ghafurun Rahim. Inna Allah kana Ghafuran Rahima. Okay? Wallahu Ghafurun Rahim. This is the only place, and again, what Ghafurun Rahim means is forgiving, comma, merciful. This is the only place in the entire Quran that says merciful, comma, forgiving. This is the only place. And it's divine speech, right? Every word is, in our belief, is in its place. How come this is the only place that doesn't say forgiving, comma, merciful, rather says merciful, comma, forgiving? Assalamu alaikum. First of all, I'll tell you what one of the great scholars of Islam, Ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah, said about this ayah. He said, every time Allah says forgiving, comma, merciful, at the end of an ayah, at the end of a statement, the beginning of it always has mention of human beings. The beginning of it always talks about in human beings one way or the other. And that's important to note because, as far as human beings are concerned, They need to be forgiven first, then they become deserving of mercy. That's the proper order as far as human beings are concerned. Forgiving, then mercy. And he gave the analogy of a glass. You know, in Arabic the statement is إِنَّ دَرْءَ الْمَفْسَدَ مُقَدَّمْ عَلَى جَلْبِ الْمَصْلَحَةِ, which means if you have a dirty glass and you want to drink, say, juice, what do you have to do first before you can use the glass? Clean out the negative element before you can add the positive element. Forgiveness cleans out the negative element. Mercy is obviously the positive element, right? So forgiveness comes first, mercy comes second. This is the only place in the whole Quran. I'd be very impressed if you know where this is from. Nope. You're right. يَعْلَمُ مَا يَلِجُ فِي الْأَرْضِ is mentioned in Surah Al-Hadid, but this is not it. No one knows? Okay, I'll give you the number, you tell me the name. Surah number 34. Figure it out one day. Very good, Saba. Surah Saba, ayah number 2. 34:2. Okay. This one, if you read the English translation, do you see mention of human beings? Are human beings being mentioned? Not directly. Not directly. If you were to indicate the literal, at the outer meaning of this ayah, the obvious theme of the ayah is the knowledge of God. He knows what goes into the earth, what comes out of the earth, what comes down from the sky, what goes up into the sky. The theme is knowledge. All over the Quran, whenever knowledge is mentioned, somewhere in the passage there's also mercy. Knowledge and mercy are affiliated terms in the Quran. Because God's knowledge, Allah's knowledge in the end is mercy. The biggest example of that is Ar-Rahman. You know the next one? Allama al-Quran. The exceedingly merciful taught the Quran. Knowledge, education, right? And there are many other instances. But more than that, if there is no mention of human beings, then why is mercy is understandable because that's universal. Forgiveness is particularly an attribute that affects who? Human beings. If there is no mention of human beings, then there is no need for Ghafoor. But there is mention of human beings. It's implied. You know in the beginning when Allah says He knows what enters into the earth, the farmer thinks of what going into the earth? What's planted into the earth? The seed. And what comes out? A plant. But at a deeper look, we also enter into the earth one day. And we will also be coming out of the earth one day, Day of Judgment. Remember that again. He knows what enters into the earth could refer to plants, but also refers to human beings because they certainly enter into the earth and they will certainly be coming out. If you look at the next part, he says what comes down from the sky. From a farmer's perspective, what is coming down from the sky? Rain. But from the perspective of revelation, it is the words of Allah, revelation, angels, that are also coming down from the sky. That's mercy. But let me not give you that parallel yet. So revelation comes from the sky. Revelation comes, people decipher it, they act according to it, or they don't act according to it. What goes back up to the sky? Their deeds for evaluation. Let's do that again. Human beings enter the earth, will come out of the earth. Revelation comes down from the sky, and what goes up? Deeds go up to the sky. Now, once again, at the time of death, human beings are in need of Allah's mercy. When they are raised, they will be in need of Allah's forgiveness. On the Day of Judgment, we all need forgiveness. So, mercy first, forgiveness second. What comes down from the sky again? Revelation. Revelation is mercy. What goes up to the sky again? Deeds need what? Forgiveness. Mercy first, forgiveness second. The only place in Quran where mercy is first, forgiveness is second. For subhanallah, very accurate use of words, precisely in their place. And these are just small examples of, what happened in the beginning. I'll tell you what happened historically. The subject became such an obsession with Islamic scholars. In the beginning, the papers used to be aqidah-based papers or creed papers and books and doctrines, where they would write saying, this is what proves that this is the word of Allah. And for 2 or 3 centuries, this was the theme. And then the scholars got tired of that theme saying, we don't need to prove it anymore. Let's just explore its beauty. So the theme became, the theme later on is Jamadul Quran rather than I'jazul Quran. The beauty of the Quran. Let's explore the